Hello? I guess it's wired for sound here, okay. All right, I want to welcome everybody. Is this echoing or is it okay? Okay. It's a little cold in here, but I think by the time we get all these bodies, it'll warm it up. Okay. Welcome to our 4th Transformation Conference. This is the biggest one we've had. And all the people aren't even here yet. It's double what we had last year. That's why we had to get a bigger venue. But anyway, our company is Ozark Mountain Publishing, and we've been in business since 1992 was when we started out doing the metaphysical books. But it was 4 years ago that I decided, let's do a conference. The main reason was to let the new authors get their feet wet. A lot of them we were taking on had no experience in lecturing or talking or promoting their books at all. So we thought this would be a good way to get them started, because a lot of them are scared and they first start out, and they can get used to talking to people. And then we always have our keynotes every year. But this has grown tremendously in just the last 4 years. And I think it's going to keep on going. Of course, I know a lot of it has to do with Helen Reddy being here this year. She came all the way from Australia to do this. She's a fantastic lady, and you'll meet her tomorrow. She's going to be here mingling with people anyway, so you probably get to meet her just sitting out there. She'll be doing book signings. But anyway, I had a few things I wanted to tell you. Between each speaker, we have a half-hour break. And I do that on purpose because we honor our vendors. The vendors are the lifeblood of any conference. We want to make sure they're happy. A lot of conferences I speak at, they only get about 10 or 15-minute breaks, or they don't get any. Sometimes they're in the same room with the speakers, and they're not very happy. Or they hide them away somewhere where the people can't even find them. So we give a half hour between each speaker so you can go out and mix with the vendors, and it's not so rushed that way. So that's what we're going to do during the entire conference. Oh yeah, he's motioned to me. Please turn off the cell phones. That really gets aggravating when the cell phones start going. You got to turn yours off. Okay. It gets aggravating whenever the phones start going off, especially when the speaker's talking. Okay. I thought I had a few more things I was going to announce. Do you remember?
We're very happy you're here.
And tomorrow we'll be starting, I think it's 9 o'clock tomorrow, isn't it, the first speaker? Well, should have everybody pretty well registered by that time. Okay, everybody got their cell phones off then. Okay, and I think we're ready to go, and it's going to be a wonderful conference. I can't think of any other announcements. That's all we need anyway, I guess. I'll think of what? Oh, yeah, that, okay. We thought it'd be easier if you have questions after each speaker instead of passing the microphone around. If you want to ask questions, queue up here in front of this mic right here. Start lining up there by the end of the talk so you can ask questions. It'll be a lot easier that way. Otherwise, we've had to pass the microphones back and forth. So anybody wants to ask questions, just come up to this mic and we'll take you from there. And I thought I had something else just went through my head. It'll come back, okay? A lot to think of. Oh, after each speaker too, we are going to have book signings outside. So we'll have their books available and you'll be able to get the books out there. All right. I think we're on time. It's 11 o'clock.
We're ready when you are.
All right. Our first speaker today is Justine Alessi. She's been here for every one of our conferences, and she's a fantastic lady. She's a master at what she does, the master tarot reader. Now, I know there's lots of tarot readers out there, and they're all using the old methods, the old information that goes back centuries. But Justine found a way to bring the definitions for the cards into the modern age, and she applies them to what's working in our world today. It's totally different than the way they would have been hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And that's why I published her book, and it's called The Rebirth of the Oracle. And we use the weight deck in there because that's the most popular deck. But you said it can be used with anything. Any deck. But it gives the modern definitions, and she's right on. And when she does readings, it's absolutely fantastic. I always think she's more psychic than she gives herself credit for, and that the cards are just a tool, that she's able to pick up things from them, but I think there's a whole lot more going on, that she knows just right down to the last detail about people's lives. But she's already booked solid for this conference. People were signing up long before she ever got here because they all wanted to have readings from this wonderful lady. But you're going to be talking about the tarot, the way you see it, and you'll be talking about the audience too. Because that's one thing she can do. She can look at the audience and tell you all about yourself without the cards. So anyway, it's going to be fascinating. But this is Justine Alessi, Master Tarot Reader.
Thank you. Put that under there.
Do you want to use this, or do you want to use the...
I have this.
Okay, Greg, you want to turn this one off? This one's off then. Okay.
So I'm so happy to be here. This is the fourth time I've been here, and every time it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Used to be I would be able to go, the first time I did it, I was able to go through the audience and talk to every single person and tell them their cord card, their significator. I don't think I can do that this year, but I'll do my best to do as many of you as I can. As Dolores told you, I'm a tarot reader. She uses the word psychic. I don't like the word because I feel like, I don't know, it goes against what my belief is. My belief is that we all are psychic or intuitive, and I don't want to point myself out as more so than anybody else. I believe that all of you have just as much of a gift as I have. The thing with tarot, and I believe that everybody in this room could understand tarot. If you look at it long enough, it will talk to you, and it will never be wrong. I've been teaching tarot classes for years now, and in fact, this time I brought with me four of the best readers that I've been able to train in all the years I've done cards, and they are here to do cards as well if you want readings, because I know I can't do them all, and you will have every bit of a good reading from them as you do from me. And it comes from my belief that we indeed are all intuitive, that we all have power, and that it's just a matter of, I guess what I want to say is honing in on the right levels. People they think we have to be at the same level, like our days, the days we go through the same. But there are peaks and valleys in our days, there are peaks and valleys in our minds, there are peaks and valleys in our thoughts. And as a reader, which we're all readers if you think about it. How many times have you talked to your husband or your kids or your wife or your mother or somebody? You knew what they were going to say. You knew what was going to happen. You're at work. You feel. And that feeling, that's intuitive energy. That's the exact same energy that I use as a reader and the energy that everybody uses as a reader. And with the tarot, those are like little flashcards to your mind that open things up. The tarot cards are symbols. They're not just pictures. I think that, sometimes people will look at a card And they'll be almost afraid. They'll think, well, what does that mean? It doesn't look like it means that. Well, it doesn't mean that. It means what you think it means. And the Egyptians, well, as far back as they can tell, I'll do a little history here for you. I don't know if it's accurate. Nobody knows if it's accurate because tarot's been around for centuries. But the most widely accepted theory with tarot is that in the 12th century in Egypt, the cards were used by the priests and priestesses to divine answers for people's problems. One of the things that I believe got lost over the centuries was that when you would go to a tarot reader, and it became very charlatan-like, you'd go to the carnival and your reader would have her crystal ball and her cards, and she would say, oh, you're going to meet a tall, dark, and handsome man, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. That's not tarot reading. The priests and priestesses were very highly respected people, and they believed, or the theory was, that the cards opened their mind. Well, if it can open the mind of a priest and priestess, it can open your mind. And you stare at that picture long enough, and it will mean something to you, I promise. You'll be, no, it can't mean that. People will say, like, it can't be right, but it is right. And a lot of times, it'll seem like an almost impossible thing to say. It's right. When you learn to listen to it, it's right. And it's open, it's symbolism. And the symbols, they have no idea. They believe they were divined by the holy people in the temples to open certain pieces and places in the mind, that you would look at the cards and that you would know things, and then they would be modified by the cards. So to go to a reader and just sit down and have the reader tell you this is going to happen, that's not a tarot reading. A tarot reading is ask questions. I tell people, you can ask me as many questions as you like. I don't have any limits to the number of questions, but it's not going to be a good reading unless you ask questions. It is also not going to be a good reading if your client is not handling your cards. How can somebody be on a radio and answering people that are hundreds or thousands of miles away? It's not a card reading. It's a cold reading, but it's not a card reading. For it to be a card reading, your client has got to handle those cards and transfer their energy. The Egyptian belief, I'll show you, it's the shape of a heart. They believed all the information was located in your solar plexus, that you knew every single thing that was going to happen to you. You chose it in your reincarnative life that you were going to learn these lessons. It was all stored here. That it was tempered through the heart chakra, that this information would come up through the heart, go down the arms into your hands. Your hands would handle the cards. And that was like a transmitting of energy, almost like a radio transmission of the energy that was already known here into your hands, because as everyone knows, the Egyptians connected the entire body with chakras. And so your hands touching these cards, all they did was gave that reader the information of what you already know to be true. A tarot reading should resonate truthfully with you. And when you have a reader say something to you that seems utterly impossible, don't be too sure of that, because we're not we're creatures of habit, but we do have changes in our life, which brings us to some of the other cards that I want to talk about. But do know that as a reader, I don't know what you don't know. You already know it. It's in you. It's in you. And when I tell it to you, it'll resonate. And you might think that can't happen, but yet there's a piece in you that thinks, I wish it could, or I hope it does. And it will. It always does happen. Because the information it's there. It's there just like opening a book. When you have a good reader will ask you questions, or let you ask her or him questions. A good reader will say, you may ask me whatever you would like to ask me regarding yourself and those closest to you, about love, health, work, money, travel, I don't know, whatever you want to know. I tell people anything that interests you interests me. And what are the top 3 questions in the tarot? You'll love this. Will I ever have love? Will I ever have money? And will I ever lose weight? Those are the numbers, the top 3. In that order, and that's the truth. I was pretty surprised by that, but then I understand it, you know? This is America. Anyhow, when you have a good reader, which there are good readers, and I've made it my mission. My first mission was to translate the tarot into the 21st century. My second mission right now is to have good readers out there, readers who understand what they're looking for. You're not looking for some fantasy world. That is not a tarot reading. People will ask you questions like, my daughter is physically ill. My daughter has, my own daughter, she has lupus. She's seriously ill. She's been ill for years. What's going to happen to her? That's the kind of questions that people will ask you. You've got to answer that person. You can't make up some high, I don't want to call it highly imaginative, but you can't. You have to say the truth. If that person isn't going to get better, okay, you have to say they're not going to get better, but. And with every problem, you offer a solution. As a good reader, you will never, ever not offer a solution to the problem, never. And you will tell a person which direction to go. There are many directions people can go in. And when you're a good reader, you can offer your client 4 or 5 solutions to the problem. You know, there's education, as a good reader, there's government programs, there are people that know things that you don't know. You don't know everything. I recommend as a reader to my students that they have a file. I have a file this big of people who know more than I do about certain things. Maybe not about tarot reading, but I'm not a psychiatrist. I send multiple people to psychologists and psychiatrists. I send people to government agencies. Maybe they don't have enough food for their family. It's very possible. And they don't know about the food stamp program. They don't know about the rural development program where you can have a house built for 0% interest or 1% interest. They don't know that, but I know it. A good reader makes it her business or his business to know what's available to help her clients. You're there as the high priestess. You're not there to pronounce your sentence on people. You're there to say, okay, you've got a problem, let me help you solve your problem. And if I can't help you, this person can help you, or that person can help you. When you have readers like that, you have good tarot readers. Now, there are things in readings that are strange that come up. There definitely are. Sometimes I see things that don't seem possible. A couple of times I've seen, not very many times, I've seen lottery wins. Now, that's everybody. Oh, well, I win the lottery. Well, I've done thousands of readings. I can't even remember how many readings I've done. And probably 5 people, maybe 6, have won the lottery. Have I seen it? Yes, I've seen it. There's a card for that. And the card is the Wheel of Fortune, which is good luck, and the Ace of Pentacles, which is a great deal of money. They have to be side by side. I lay out about 50 cards of the 78 in the deck. The odds of those 2 cards being together are practically 0. But when I see it, I tell them, play the lottery or gamble or do something. I've had yet to see anyone win less than $10,000, and I think that's a lot of money, up to $1 million. In fact, I just had somebody in March, and it was March 16th, and she had it. And I've done her cards for years, and I was real excited. I said, you've got to go to the casino because we have one near our house. And she said, isn't that, and I said, your luck is in Pisces, because you can tell, and a good tarot reader will tell you when the time frames are. Now, sometime on that card, if it's a 7th house karma card, you can't tell when, but sometime you can. And I say in Pisces, which is, I think it's February 20th to March 20th, like about that. Well, this was March 16th. And I said to her, Marilyn, you've got to go to the casino. And she said, I never win. I said, just go, why not? And she said, well, it's funny, her boyfriend wanted to take her because it was her birthday. And I said, well, you might as well go. You're only half an hour from there. What the heck? She called me at 1 o'clock in the morning. My phone rang. She won $25,000 on a quarter machine. She said, thank God you told me to go. But that's so rare that I see the card that I get adamant. I say, go play, you know. But that's unusual. It's not unusual to see people, the top question, will I ever find love? That's not unusual. There is somebody for everybody. There is. And in the tarot, it'll give you choices. It will tell you the kind of person. It will tell you when you're going to meet him. It will tell you how you're going to meet him or her. It'll say, in the spring, through the direct introduction of a friend, you are going to meet a man who is a King of Pentacles, at which point I will then describe King of Pentacles, which I'm going to do for you today. And they'll be, well, that would be perfect. I always wanted someone like that. I said, but it will happen. And it does happen if you listen to the clues. The cards are so specific that there are multiple ways of meeting people. One of them is through work. I actually had to call a card out for the internet. This is the 21st century. So in the 12th century, the Eight of Wands was called Arrows of Love, and love goes through the air. Well, that's the card I now use for media and for internet romance. Well, if I see an Ace of Cups, which is love, and I see an Eight of Wands, which is through the arrows of love through the air, doesn't it make sense to you that that will be internet romance? And it is. It works every time. I never saw it not work. Sometime it'll be a Six of Cups, which is your childhood or your past. One of the ways is that you already know the person, and they'll look at you and like, I don't know anyone like that, but you do. Think about it. You do know somebody like that. And then somebody will call me and say, you're driving me crazy. I can't think. And I say, don't worry, he'll show up. And then they do. And it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that you dated. It could be your brother's friend from 3rd grade. But there's a link to the past. There's always a link. There are so many answers in the tarot, which is why there's certain readers that will tell you that you can't you can't tell anybody, you can't repeat a reading. Well, first of all, run. Because the reason they're saying that is they're telling everybody the same thing. And they don't want you to know that they're telling everyone the same thing. A real reading is so different. Every single reading. I could do 20 readings, and all 20 of them will be completely different. And that's how the mark of a good reader. A good reader will allow you to tape the reading if you want to tape it. He or she will allow you to discuss it openly with anybody that wants to. Will answer your questions and give you suggestions. Will never send you out of that room feeling bad. Never. A good reader will never, ever, ever put fear in you. I've heard so many stories of readers who say things like, oh, be careful in July, your son's going to die. People say this to other people. And they say, you're going to die at the age of 38. Things like that. That person will go through, they might hear that when they're 18. They'll go through that 38th year of their life scared to death that they're going to die. That's how much power you have as a reader. When any reader tells you anything like that, get up, walk out, don't pay them. Go. When a reader says to you, I'm going to give you this rock, I'm going to sell you this rock for $35, and if you buy this rock from me, you're going to meet the love of your life. Go down on the beach and get your own rock. It will do nothing for you, nothing. And people do that all the time. That's part of my other mission, is I'm trying to get rid of this charlatan image. I live in a small town in Ohio. It's called North Kingsville, which is right on the border of Pennsylvania and Northeast Ohio. And it's a little area, Ashtabula County. It's rural. And there was a reader, a lady there who was doing readings, and she managed to get somebody to give her a $3,500 ring, a new car, and tons of money, because she promised them that if they did these things for her, she would be able to make their life happy. No one can make your life happy. You make your life happy. But a good reader will tell you how to make your life happy, will give you suggestions, will give you ideas, will give you, I don't want to say clues because it's not the right word, but suggestions. And by the way, as I'm talking here, if you have a question in the middle, just stick your hand up, because I know sometimes I'm talking a lot of different things. And if something comes to your mind that you have a question about, I'll answer it right in the middle. You don't have to worry about waiting till the end, because I know sometimes we forget. Different readers have different methods of doing it. And I'm not saying all readers do that. Most readers don't do that, most new readers. But the ones that do, keep away from them. And the ones that tell you that they know, that they're sure of it, that they know that this is going to happen to you while they're on a radio show, I don't understand how. How do they know? Especially if they haven't met you, they haven't felt your energy, they haven't handled the cards. Now, these are tarot readers I'm talking about. I'm not talking about cold readers. Cold readers are a different story. There are indeed people out there who can look at, they hear a voice and they understand it. But I can't do that. I have to have the cards handled. As far as having tarot I never thought it would be what I did for a living. I was a librarian my whole life. What happened was one day, a young man, he didn't have any shoes. He came from a poor family, and he used to take his shoes off under the library table, and I saw his toes were curled up. And I thought, his shoes don't fit. So I bought him a pair of shoes. Well, years later, he was very grateful. And he came in and he threw a deck of cards down on my desk and he said, "You can do these." And I picked them up and I understood them. I don't know how I understood them. I don't know why I understood them. And that's where we get into what Dolores talks about, past lives. It had to be something left over from a past life because it had nothing to do with this life. And even though I was raised in the 60s, I had no connection to tarot cards. I didn't know anything about them. I knew a lot of different people, the kind of hippie people were using them and stuff, but I didn't know anything about them. I just understood them. That same afternoon, a woman came in. It was story time when they bring their little children in to hear stories. And the cards were sitting on my desk, and she was a friend, and she stopped by, and she saw them sitting there, and she said, "Oh, tarot cards." She said, "I didn't know you did these." I said, "I don't either." I said, "I don't even know how to do them. I said, but I understand the pictures." And she said, "Let me show you." And she was an Indian woman from Tucson, Arizona. And she actually, I went to her house a couple of days later. She showed me how to lay out the cards and ask the questions. And I knew it from there. I had no training, but I just know them. I don't know why I know them, but I know them. And I think that, again, we go back to that past life thing. And it's probably been my only past life because I don't know how to do anything else but that. So I was glad I learned. I learned many things as a reader. I learned from my clients. They taught me everything that I know. I learned how people are. I learned how people can be. I learned how people think, and I learned how people learn. I also learned that not everybody is nice, but I also learned that everybody does have value. And I learned that many things come in fours. The number 4 to me in metaphysics is very, very strong. The tarot deck is divided into 4 suits. Regular cards came from tarot cards. In the tarot deck, wands, W-A-N-D-S, like magic wands, are the same as clubs, and that is your work or your day-to-day activity. Pentacles, which are, or sometimes called discs, are the same as diamonds, and that's about money. Not just the money that you earn, but the money that you have through your lifetime and your possessions. Cups, just cups, C-U-P-S, are hearts. Hearts are relationships. Those are not just your relationships with the great love of your life, but they're your relationships with your friends, your family, your co-workers. All of these relationships have a place in a tarot reading. And the 4th suit is swords. Swords are spades in a regular deck of cards, and these are about power. The singular most important card in the tarot deck is the Ace of Swords, because that is a card that depicts absolute power. Most people have the Ace of Swords reversed, meaning that they have the potential for that power, they just don't know how to use it. My job as a reader is to say to you, take your power back. And I'll tell you how to do it. You can tell it's not hard to do if you know what you're looking for in the cards, which, again, of course, you know, I want to sell my book, but the book does tell you. It'll tell you what to look for. Up into the 21st century, in, you know, what counted years ago as arrows of love through the air, which would be like somebody bringing a message across the land on horseback, now is translated into the internet. Much of the tarot is like that. We translated it into the 21st century. And as far as I can see, with the 4 suits of the cards, you will cover every single aspect of life. Your day-to-day activity, your finances, your personal relationships, and your power. Now, power includes mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. Again, the number 4. Spiritual health is your relationship to the God in you. Mental health, we know, of course, what that is, physical health. And emotional health, a lot of people will come to you, and believe me, they are not emotionally healthy. They have been so battered down by life that they don't know how to be emotionally healthy anymore. You're in there, you're sort of a mixture, or I want to say a middle person between a priest and a psychiatrist, and remembering that you are neither, and that there are times you have to send people to somebody who knows more than you do. A good reader will say, I can't help you, but I know somebody who can, and send that person off to, people, a lot of times I'm the first line of defense. They'll talk to me about incest. I don't know why. I think because I can see a card and I'll say something. I'm very, very careful on the delivery. I'll say something like, it looks to me like your childhood was very difficult. And then somebody will break down and cry and say, yes, I was molested by my brother. Well, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't handle molestation. I'm not qualified. And I know enough to know I'm not qualified. But there are many readers who don't know that. They act as if they're qualified. Well, they're not. So if you have a problem like that, what your reader should be saying is, I am not qualified to help you. However, I'm going to send you to this therapist, hand them a business card from a therapist, and send them on their way. Because you don't have the right, as a reader, you don't have the right to get that far into somebody's psyche. You just don't. Now, there are readers who are so power hungry, and we've got lots and lots of them floating around, that they will actually take something like that on, and that is so wrong. It is so wrong. And as clients or potential clients do know that if you go to a reader and you do have a problem that's that enormous, it's not for a tarot reader. That's for a therapist or a psychologist or a doctor or a priest or a minister or somebody that is qualified in that. And that's one of the problems with being a reader or even being a client, is you have to know which lines you can cross. And there are many lines you cannot cross, and that is one of them. Also, back to my 4 areas, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health are the singular most important cards in the tarot, or the most important factions in the tarot, because that's where people's lives change. When you have the ability to help a person change their life, to say to them, you have believed all this time that you're an evil person because your mother was cruel to you. Well, you're not. You're a good person, and as a reader, you can actually see things about that person. I did a lady's cards here recently, and I could tell that she was an absolute kind, giving person, but she didn't see herself like that. She had self-esteem issues, and it was, to me, wonder why she has those. I mean, I don't know why people would have them, but then again, I can't understand it because I only saw what I saw. I didn't see her past. I didn't see the pain she went through or he went through. And as a reader, what you're here to do is soothe that pain. But then again, not to the place where you don't belong there. Remember that part. There's places you can't go. In the 4 areas of life, I think that love is the one that people are the most curious about. People want to be loved. People want to have someone to love them, and of course you do. Who wouldn't? I have been extremely blessed in my lifetime. I've been married for 40 years. I have an amazing husband. He's wonderful. If he was here, I'd introduce him, but he didn't come. He had to stay home this time. But I know how lucky I am, but I also feel that I'm a good reader to give relationship advice because I've been in a relationship for 40 years. It's not easy to be in a relationship for 40 years. Those of you who are in long-term relationships know that. Therefore, why would you listen to a reader who's been married 5 times about relationships? I wouldn't. So it's true. How about money? Money's a big issue in the tarot. People are afraid, very afraid today about money. I will tell you this out of my own experience and from my own readings, that by Virgo of this year, you will start to see an upswing in the money problem, in the recession. I know it. I know it because in everybody's cards, I keep seeing the same repetitious thing. I keep seeing the Ace of Pentacles, and that's a money card flowing upward. And I believe that, I don't mean that the recession will be over by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know that by September, we're going to be able to breathe again. And in about 2 years, we'll be out of the problems that we're in. I know from reading cards that the leaders we have chosen are very different, and people are afraid of them because they're afraid of the unknown. But you know, everything's unknown until you learn it. Everything's unknown. And I think that you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. I believe that we are in for many years of peace, and I believe that we are in for many years of economic security. And I'm not saying that because I like President Obama or I don't like him. I'm saying it from the card readings that I have seen. I can tell by the readings how it's going to be. And I believe, too, in the collective consciousness. If we all say things are going to get better, they're going to get better. If we all sit here and lament, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, you know what? Oh my God, then what are we going to do? So, therefore, to be here as a group, it's nice to know that I can spread my word, and I do know, I'm positive, that by September you'll start to see things turn. You'll start to see jobs restored, I just know. And I think that when you start seeing it, it's helpful, and then maybe just pass that word on to other people so that everybody's collective consciousness knows that things are going to get better. As far as the other 4 areas are the 4 gifts. One of the things I learned, well, I think it's the most important thing that I learned as a reader, is that there are only 4 gifts that matter. And not everybody has all 4 gifts. Some people have 4, some have 2, some have 1, some don't have any. But the 4 gifts are, number 1, and most importantly, good health. If we have good health, everything else is secondary. The second gift is intelligence. You know perfectly well that not everybody has intelligence. They don't. Some people do, some people don't. And when they don't, what is your goal? Your job is to be kind and to impart your intelligence. The third gift is a pleasant personality. Well, let's talk about that one. Some people, let's face it, you'd rather not be around. But can they help it? I don't know. I don't know if they can help it or not. Maybe. And the fourth gift is a pleasant appearance. I don't mean that you have to look like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. I mean that you have to be cleaned up, look nice. Well, many people do have all 4 of those gifts. Many people do have intelligence and good health and a pleasant personality and a pleasant appearance. And if those people don't succeed in life, it's their fault. It's nobody else's fault but their own. They've got everything they need to succeed at anything they start out to do. But when you're a reader, you're going to notice that everybody doesn't have those 4 gifts. One of the ones many people don't have is good health. You'd be amazed at how many people are out there in chronic pain. People who are out there with great fear because they've got cancer or they've got multiple sclerosis or an autoimmune disease. There's all kinds of diseases and things out there. Now those people, as a reader, your job then is to offer them hope. You don't make things up, but you can tell. I can tell looking at a sick person's cards how many years it will be until there is something that's going to come along that's going to help that person change their life. And I remember distinctly years ago, I can't even remember, it might have been 20 years ago, I had a woman whose little boy was born and he couldn't see very well. And I said, you know, it's going to be a long time. It's going to be 12 years. But in 12 years, I think I said 12 years. I might be mistaken about the number. In 12 years, your little boy's going to be able to see. Well, they invented corneal transplants, and he can see. So that's actually in a card reading. A good reader will know that. They'll be able to tell you that time, that date, when. I might be off a year or 6 months, but usually not. I'm usually pretty much on target. And as are all good readers, they'll be on target. When it comes to intelligence, you can't give the gift of intelligence to other people. Either you have that or you don't. But you can lead them. One of the things I've learned is that perhaps that person doesn't have the intelligence to make that decision, but I have intelligence, so why can't I give them 2 or 3 options? I won't tell them what to do. I'm not going to look at you and say, you do this or you do that. I'm going to say, here's your 3 options. Perhaps you should go back to school. Perhaps your sister will help you. Perhaps you might want to change your relationship. Whatever, I don't know, whatever the problem is. You give them their options. They'll pick one. They will always pick one. People are hungry for advice. And as a reader, that's what you're out there to do. You're out there to give them advice. You're not out to dazzle them with your knowledge. Yeah, you can. I do that sometimes just because it's fun. I like to throw one in there and go, oh, wow. And it is fun. But that's not the purpose. The purpose of a reading is to enlighten, to comfort. Those are the purposes. You want to bring... I don't want anyone to leave one of my readings without feeling comforted and enlightened. Those are my 2 biggest goals. I think as a reader, when you're looking at people who lack any of the gifts, I often think about people who are particularly unattractive. And, you know, we've all met people like that. And I hope that their father loved them, because I know somebody whose father used to tell her that she was not attractive. Well, it destroyed her. It actually destroyed her. And there was nothing wrong with her. She was as attractive as anybody else. But because her father used to tell her she was unattractive, it destroyed her self-image. And to this day, it's destroyed her self-image. And I look at people who are particularly unattractive and I think to myself, I hope your dad told you you were beautiful. Because if somebody does tell you that, then you are indeed beautiful. And it's amazing how much importance we put on the four gifts. Good health, intelligence, personality, and appearance. There's a lot of importance to those gifts. And some people's personality is less than pleasant, and we know that, but that doesn't mean they're bad people. And as a reader, you've got to get around that personality. You've got to, you know, you'll have people there, I call them the testers. They want you to tell them something, and they don't want, you know, I'm not going to tell you anything. Well, if you're not going to tell me anything, I'm not reading your cards, because the way you get cards read is to ask questions. One of the first introductory things I say, you will control the reading by asking questions. And you'll have them say, just tell me what's in there. I'll say, no, go to a different reader. If you don't, I don't care, I don't. Because that's not how cards are read today. That's not the right way to read them. You're out looking for something special. You're out looking for an answer. And everybody deserves an answer. As far as I can see it, with that the four areas of cards, the 4 gifts, then come the 4 archetypes of people. Now, in the tarot deck, there are 4 suits of the cards. Remembering, as I told you, that cups are hearts, which are love, pentacles are diamonds, which is money, swords are spades, which is power, and wands are clubs, which is your day-to-day activity. That's going to work, going to school, doing the laundry, whatever, taking the kids to soccer, whatever. Those are your day-to-day activities. There are also 4 types of people, and they fall in the suits of the cards, and the majority of my book is the court cards of the tarot. There are 16 of them. There are 4 queens, there are 4 kings, 4 knights, and 4 pages. The 4 kings, queens, knights, and pages are depicted by card suits. The Queen of Hearts, the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Diamonds, the Queen of Spades, the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Spades, and the Queen of Clubs, the Queen of Wands. 4 distinctly different archetypes of people. If you read my book, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a little bit of a break here because I haven't shut up for a while, and we might want to stop for a minute, but everybody belongs to one of the suits of the cards. I'm kind of able to tell people what suit they belong in. I don't know why, but I can. You would know yourself if you read the book. There's a lot of a Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is the Queen of Hearts in a regular deck. She is my love queen. Not because you get so much as a Queen of Hearts, but because you give so much. There are many women who spend their life giving love. That's the Queen of Hearts. There are many women who spend their life distributing compassion and kindness, and they're about everybody else. That's the Queen of Wands. There are many women who are about creative intelligence. That's the Queen of Pentacles. And there are many women who are community leaders who do have boundaries, because there are many women who have no boundaries, and those are the Queen of Spades, the Queen of Swords. And I'm going to get into all those for you in the second half of this. But knowing that you belong to a suit is kind of neat, or knowing that what suit a person belongs to is kind of neat, because then you know how to handle that person. People who need to be needed aren't needy people, except that they need to be needed. Does that make sense? And there are a lot of people like that. I would say there are more Queen of Wands, that's the queen for that, than any combined. Kings of Wands too. Kings of Wands are the good guys. They're the men that, they make you feel safe. Excuse me. Kings of Wands are the alpha male. They're the ones, if you're married, I'm married to one of them. It's great. I've never shoveled snow in my life. I don't have to put gas in the car. He'll do all that stuff. He doesn't do laundry, but all right, I don't care. He needs me to need him. So I know how to do that. I'm a Queen of Cups. What I need to do is I need to problem solve. People who are Queens of Cups, which are the Queen of Hearts, they need to problem solve. They need to be able to help people figure out their life. That's what they need. So if you came to me and you didn't have a problem for me to solve, I would probably be thinking about something else, because it's just how it is. And that's how the Queen of Cups is. She is also the one who is very intuitive. Again, I reiterate, we are all intuitive. We all have accoutrements of all 4 suits in us. We all have some of the compassion of the wand people. We all have some of the intuition of the cup people. We all have some of the creative intellect of the pentacle people. And we all have some of the boundary setting and the community spirit of the sword people. But we tend to lean more likely toward one than to another. And when I see how people react, I can tell by looking at a person. Like this lady right in front of me, she's a Queen of Pentacles. And have I done your cards before? You right here. Yeah. No, okay, good. Because I wanted to pick a couple people that I've never done. I'm going to choose you as a Queen of Pentacles. And I choose the lady on the very end here. She's a Queen of Wands. I choose this lady as a Queen of Cups right here. And this blonde lady. Yeah, right there. And I'm having a hard time finding a Queen of Swords. I can't find one. There isn't. I don't think there's one in this audience. I'm going to have to walk back and see. But I can tell you how these people will respond. Now, my Queen of Pentacles lady, what's your first name? Tony? Tony, okay. Tony is, I can tell you this about her. I can tell by looking at her and by the way she is, she feels that she's very much a perfectionist. If your name's on it, it's perfect, correct? And your towels are hung in a row. You have an artistic energy. Whether you draw or paint, whether it's the way you decorate your home, you love beautiful things. You have a way with money. You have a way with people. And you should run the world because you can organize anything. Is that correct? Yeah, I thought so. That's a Queen of Pentacles. And I don't know how I can tell that, but I can tell that. I can look at most people. There's a lot of Queen of Wands and Queen of Cups in this audience. The Queen of Wands is, I forget your first name.
I'm Jerry.
Jerry. I met Jerry a little earlier, and I said she's a perfect candidate to be the Queen of Wands because I've never seen her before. The Queen of Wands is the Queen of Clubs in a regular deck of cards. She is an earthbound queen. The analogy is a tree. You are always there. You are always giving of yourself. You spread your arms wide over many, many people. And people walk right past you and take you for granted because you're supposed to be there. You're the tree. You're the Queen of Wands. Queen of Wands is the most loved queen in the tarot because her life is spent in the service of other people. She's a healer, a caretaker, a nurturer, and a teacher. And if you don't do those for a living, you get stuck doing them for free. So I say do them for a living. Yes. Queen. Sure you have, because you're a Queen of Wands. You exude wand energy. And one of the things, when I wrote Rebirth of the Oracle, I can't even remember how many people I talked to. And it kind of evolved into a book. I didn't know that was going to happen. It just happened. But down to like the health problems, they all seem to fall into these 4 categories, which amazes me no end. Now, the Queen of Pentacles doesn't do anything to make herself be sick. She doesn't take risks with her life. Most Queen of Pentacles, they're not smokers, they're not drinkers, they're not drug users. They go to the gym. They do the right thing. They take care of their bodies. But I did find a commonality in them, which I found ironic, and that was problems with the reproductive system. Now, that doesn't mean all Queen of Pentacles have problems with the reproductive system, but 38% of them did. I did it in percentages. The irony in that, she's the best mother in the tarot. There is no better mother than the Queen of Pentacles. I have never met a Queen of Pentacles, and I've met thousands of them, who had messed up children. Never, not one time. They always have good kids, kids that are achievers. Well, it's because the mother, as the Queen of Pentacles, has high expectations for herself, so of course she has them for her children. So high achievers absolutely belong to the Queen of Pentacles. The Queen of Cups I have over here. I don't know your first name.
Twink.
Twink. Queen of Cups is the Queen of Hearts in a regular deck of cards. She's my love queen. Not because she gets so much, but rather because, like the butterfly, which is her symbol, all her life she will flit from person to person that's in her life and give them what they need, whether it's motivation or money or a helping hand, whatever they need. The Queen of Cups is non-judgmental of other people, has an unlikely assortment of friends, people that perhaps wouldn't be friends with each other, but they're her friend, because she believes there's good in everybody. And even when people are saying to you, Twink, oh my gosh, get rid of that person, you'll be saying, yeah, but they're good about this, right? Right. That's the Queen of Cups. That's what she's like. I'm a Queen of Cups. I do it all the time. And sometimes, do you get hurt? Sure you do. But you know what? That's part of life. So what? I mean, you can just keep going on. Now, the queens and the kings are different. They have a commonality, but they're different. The King of Cups, who, there's a few of them in this, you're King of Cups, Craig, with a little bit of wand in you. I'm trying to see if I see any other King of Cups in here. No, I'm not seeing too many. I'll walk through the audience and I'll tell you. But anyway, the King of Cups, he's more about how he is to the universe. He's not so much about the other people. He's more about his part in the universe, where the Queen of Cups is about everybody else's part. The King of Cups, a lot of King of Cups do great things. Many of them are um, spiritual and counseling in their nature. And a lot of them do it for a living. Most of them don't. But there's also a strong faction of King of Cups who are addictive. They're very addictive because sometimes they get so wrapped into that part of themselves that they can't stop the addictive nature because it soothes them. I get a lot of alcoholic people who are King of Cups. Now that does not say all King of Cups are alcoholics or all alcoholics are King of Cups, not at all. But I do find that a lot because they're so about their presentation of themselves to the world and what their gift is and what they have to do to the world. And that, after a while, that can be very wearing on your psyche. That can be very wearing on your nerves. When there are a group of people in the room, especially in conferences like this, I find the majority of people to be cups and wands. That seems to be the order of things. I do get a few pentacles. There's a pentacle right there with the white pants on the end here. Yeah, you. Yeah, yeah. You're pentacle. You're like real, you're like her. You have that everything has to be the right way kind of thing going on. We need people like that. Those people, they should run the world. They should absolutely run the world. And it's kind of like if you put everybody in their place in the work, what do they call that, like the work order or something? You would have the Queen of Pentacles or the Kings of Pentacles, sometimes kings, yeah, pretty much, deciding which way it was going to be handled. They're the organizers. Then you would have the cup people doing the advertising because they're very good with people and they know how to handle people and they know how to get people to respond to them. Then you will find the wand people doing all the work. They're the ones that are putting the papers together and, you know, collating, like today for the bags for the conference and stuff like that. Those are all the wand people. And then you'll find the sword people making sure that this thing gets put out there into the world, that everybody knows about it, that it's successful. They're the power people. We need all four kinds of people. Without all four kinds of people, we have a world that's very out of balance. So for me to say, well, I would rather be this than this, that's not true. Because, and it might sound to people like being a Queen of Wands is very noble. It is very noble, but it's also very difficult. And I don't think you get to pick what you are, although you get to try. I see a lot of times, especially Queen of Cups, because Queen of Cups are so about other people that they lose themselves a lot. They don't really even know who they are anymore. They'll get angry and they'll decide they're going to be a Queen of Pentacles. It lasts for about a week. And they'll go, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to do that. But they do. They go back to being it. But can you change? I suppose if you want to change anything, you can change if you want to change it bad enough. But I don't normally see people change that much. I see them add, but not change. By that I mean, you might have a Queen of Wands who is very compassionate, giver. Say she's a school nurse, for instance. That's a perfect job for the Queen of Wands. And then one day she decides that she wants to do a little bit more, and she wants to be artistic, so she's going to take a photography class. Well, along with that photography class comes a learned love for beautiful things. So she may expand her wings and then have some pentacle in her. There's a lot of dual energy in the tarot, especially in women under 30 and over 50. I get a lot of dual energies. People who have accoutrements of 2 queens or 2 kings or 2 knights or whatever. Now, is everybody good in the tarot? And the answer to that is no. There are some people who are not. We need all kinds of people. The person I'm going to address before we have a little break here is the Knight of Cups. I think everybody has to know one in their life. That's the bad boy. The one that he's destructive. He's perfectly destructive. There's no other way of talking about the Knight of Cups. Is he evil? Sometimes he is. Knight of Cups is Peter Pan. He won't grow up. He comes into your world as a tornado, but people love him at first. Most people, women love him at first. Men don't like him. They know they're smarter. They know that he's not good. But women are entranced by him because he's generally young and he's attractive and he's got a smooth flow of words and he's got a lot of energy to him and he makes you feel good. And then he will insidiously suck you into his trap like a spider. And you will be short of money, you will be short of time, you will be short of self-esteem. He will completely rob you. He will completely strip and rob you. And yes, there are people like that. Most of us have met at least one of them. And some of us, unfortunately, have them in our families, and you can't get rid of them. You have to put up with them. But you have to learn to hide your purse. They steal. They do drugs. They do all that stuff. Not that everybody who steals and does drugs is evil. I don't even mean to say that because that's human. But what I mean to say is that the Knight of Cups, more than anybody else, is the one who you can pretty much count on to destroy your life or the life of the people that you love. Now, I don't see any of those in here. I don't think so. No, they couldn't afford it because they never have any money. So they'd have to get it from you to come. But do be aware that not everybody is good. And I'm not up here like Pollyanna saying, oh, everybody's wonderful. No, they're not. There's all kind of people who aren't so wonderful. But for the most part, I would say that most people are wonderful and they are good. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. And does anyone have any questions? Okay, we got some. Yes?
What's the Queen of Swords?
Okay, the Queen of Swords is the Queen of Spades in a regular deck of cards. And she's the person who she wants credit for everything that she does. She's a community organizer. You know the person who's the head of the community club and who runs the PTA, and she wants everybody to know that she does it. And she likes that attention, and she likes that, I want to say that notoriety. The Queen of Swords has a lot of self-image problems, and she tends to compensate for that by acting as if she's better than everybody. It's not a very pleasant thing to be, but the Queen of Swords does make a difference. She definitely does make a difference in her community. So that's where the good in her comes in. I don't run into many Queen of Swords. First of all, they are sort of above all this. To them, it would be like, I could never do that. I don't believe in that. But in truth, some of them could use it. I've met a few that could use it. But they're not real kind. They're narcissistic is the word that comes to my mind. There's a lot of narcissistic personality in a Queen of Swords. And I think that's why you don't get too many of them in things like this. Anybody else? Yes.
You mentioned a clean couple, a lot of clean couple alcoholics.
No, king. Many King of Cups are alcoholics.
I gave up drinking for a month ago.
Or you're a King of Cups, right? Yeah. Yeah, King of Cups tend to need the addiction. What it is, and this I have discovered, the alcohol shuts off the voices in your head. I don't mean that you're a schizophrenic by any stretch of the imagination. What I mean is that when you're a King of Cups, you're highly, highly intuitive. You know how people are thinking, you know what they're thinking. It's very hard to be one. And sometimes it gets overwhelming to have that constant bombardment of other people's energy and thoughts in your head. And many King of Cups will turn to alcohol so that they can sort of close down the noise. You also see a lot of King of Cups and Queen of Cups as smokers. A lot of them smoke. And I heard this, I don't know how true it is, but somebody told me one time that puts a barrier between the bombardment of other people's energy and their own head, that smoke puts up a barrier. I don't know whether that's true or not. But I've heard drinkers and smokers a lot of times fall into the cup arenas. Now, the Queen of Cups is not a drinker, the King is. The Queen of Cups is too much of a control freak. Yes.
We have to interrupt this, because we've got the sirens going off for the storm,
Okay.
What it was. But I guess it's okay now. You know, the other day, just a couple of days ago, we've had storms every night. A couple of days ago, the hotel was hit by lightning. So, this was Tuesday night in that bad storm. That's what it is. We're generating too much energy. All these people here. But I think they said when the lightning hit the hotel, it did damage to the electrical systems. And they were a little worried about whether they were going to have to move people to the next hotel. But I think they got it straightened out. And then, you know, every night we've been having storms. We had the other tornado that hit, what was it, almost to Fort Smith the other night? You know, that was just the night before last. We had the bad storms, and it hit a tornado just between here and Fort Smith. Okay. We have two friends visiting here from Australia, and they say they don't know tornadoes. They've never seen them. They don't have them in Australia. It's like, what's going on? They said it don't even rain in Australia. Okay. But anyway, whatever, Carol Pate said she didn't feel any danger. And if she says she don't feel any danger, I trust that. Okay. But they should have left us in here. We were in a good central location. We could have just stayed here. What we're going to do, we're going to continue and stop at the regular time so we can stay on schedule then. We had a half-hour interruption here. So we're going to let Justine continue. It'll just be a little condensed. And you want to introduce your girls,
Yeah, I'm
too.
going to introduce them at the end. Yeah, they're in here
Alright.
somewhere. Yeah.
I do want to ask you, though, you do give classes in your method.
Yes, I do.
So maybe you should tell people
I will.
if they want to learn her method. She does do classes.
Okay.
Okay, tell about that, too.
Okay. One of my girls, Pam, just said to me, I was just talking about the Knight of Cups being a tornado, and here it was. That's true. I just noticed it.
Are you got a sign-up thing if they want to sign up for classes?
No, I don't have it. I'll have to get something going out there.
How do you want them to contact you for that?
I have my business cards.
Okay,
They can call me.
see her table then.
Yeah, it's the last answer table.
Okay.
And what I would do, I mean, I live in Ohio. I am willing to travel, of course, you know, to do seminars. I can do a 2-day seminar, and it's 12 hours, and at the end of those 12 hours, you'll know how to read cards in my method. It's condensed, it's intense, it's an intense seminar. And well, of course, I ask for my expenses to be paid, and my fee for the seminar is $1,500, and I don't care how many people come to it. If you want to have 30 people there, or it doesn't matter to me. As many as you want to have, but you will know how to read them. And the furthest one I did was in Panama. It was wonderful. I got to go to Panama Canal, Panama, and it was amazing. And I had an interpreter and everything. It was like the high adventure of my life. Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Before we're done, you've got to tell the story
Of
about
Bob
the
Essig.
millionaire. Yeah,
I
Bob
know.
with the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You have
Right,
to
I'll
tell that
She
story.
always wants me to tell the story. Okay, I'll wrap up the Knight of Cups, then I'll tell you. I was going to tell you a couple stories. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. The Knight of Cups is a destructive force, and not everybody is a good force. There are destructive forces, as we know. But I truly believe that there is good in everybody. Now, I'm a Queen of Cups. Of course I believe that. And there have been people, especially my husband, who's the King of Wands, who goes, are you kidding me? Get away from that person. Get them out of your life. He's usually right. But no, he's always right. But I still want to believe in the goodness of everybody. Somebody asked me when we had our little break here if a woman has to be a woman. No, we have accoutrements of men and women in all of us. some women have a male personality and some men have a female personality. And I don't mean that in any kind of like homosexual / heterosexual way at all. I just mean in the sensitivity factors. And there are women who are like men, and there are men who are like women in their sensitivity and their compassion, just the way it is. So you could read through my book. Now, somebody else in here said to me they never had seen tarot identify personalities like that. Well, nobody else ever did it until I did it. That's why. And it's become kind of a primer for people that are learning tarot to learn the archetypes of the personalities. One of my, I'm proud about this, at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, my book is recommended reading in a Jungian psychology class because Carl Jung used the tarot to define archetypes. Well, he used the major arcana, where I just use the court cards, but they're using it, and I'm very proud of that. And I love the fact, well, once you get doing or get learning tarot in my method, people will say, "Oh, she's a Queen of Cups." You don't have to explain anything else; they just know what you mean. It makes it a lot easier. And I did bring 4 of the 4 best readers I have are with me. And they can read every bit as good as I can. They can read the method, the enlightenment, the comfort. They can answer questions. And they have openings. I don't happen to have any openings. I was booked, I think, before I came because I've been coming here for so many years. But the girls have openings, and I would strongly suggest if you want a reading, please don't hesitate. And I'm going to introduce them to you in a minute. Okay, back to what we were talking about. The accoutrements of all personalities are included. Again, we're in the 4 suits. Now, Dolores wants me to tell you a couple of stories. I have many things have come true that are pretty amazing to me. People will come to me years later and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, you told me this and this happened and that happened." Well, her favorite story is I had a young man who, he's probably now about late 30s. He had a money card, and it was a huge money card in front of him. And I said, "I don't know how this will happen. By the time you're 35, you're going to be a millionaire." And he said, "There's no way." And I said, "Yeah, that's what it says." I said, "It's not the lottery. It's nothing like that." I said, "I don't know how, but you will be a millionaire." It wasn't telling me anything. It wasn't telling me anything. So I tell my students, and I'll tell you, if I don't know the answer, I will say I don't know, because it's better for me to say I don't know than to make something up that's not true. And you don't have to say it very often, but sometimes you have to say it. Anyway, I said to him, "I don't know how, but you will be a millionaire." So a few months later, he gets on the show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? And I had no idea he was stunned. He just threw it out there because he's real smart and he's a lawyer, and he threw it out there that he was going to do that show. And they called him and they interviewed him, and he got on there, and he got to the last question, and he said all he could think about was me. And the question was, it was like, I can't remember exactly, but it was 2005 or 6 or something like that, or 3, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, he said, the question was, what year is it? Like year of the dragon, year of the dog, and the Chinese year. And that was the $1 million question. So he had phone a friend left. So he called his father-in-law, who was his phone a friend, who happened, he said all he could think of, he said, he knew that he would go back down to $64,000 if he lost it, but he thought, I'm gonna give it a shot because she said I'll win, I'll be a millionaire. So he called his father-in-law, and his father-in-law's brother was there, who had just that afternoon eaten at a Chinese restaurant. And it was on the placemat that it was the year of the dragon or whatever. And he came home, and I was the first person he called. He said, "I could not stop thinking about what you had said." He said, "And that's why I took the risk." So he is indeed a millionaire, or was. I don't know if he still is, but he was. I've had people that I've told them that they will marry somebody that they knew in their past, and I'll describe the person, because I can describe the person to you, not their name. I can't do that, but I can do their personality type. I can say you're going to meet a King of Pentacles, and a King of Pentacles is a King of Diamonds. And in this case, the man was married very young and it didn't work out, and he waited. Now he's ready. He's in his 50s. He's ready to be with somebody. You will meet him in a social situation in August. Well, it always happens. That's specific. That's how specific the tarot is. And she met him, and of course she married him. And I've had lots of stories like that of remembering that the number one question is about love. So I have many stories about love. People I've guided, telling them, get out of what you're doing. Like, I'll see a young person, they're 28 years old, and they're in a dead-end job, and they think that they can't do anything else with their life. And I go, sure you can. There are grants out there. There are student loans. There are, organizations that will help you. And I turn them all on to them. And one of the girls, she says to me today she would never be a nurse if it weren't for me. She was working in a flower shop trying to raise 4 kids, and now she's a registered nurse. Actually, she just told me she went back for her bachelor's degree, so I was proud of her. But you as a reader are guiding people, and you know, to guide them in the wrong direction is to be the kind of reader that I am trying to talk against. The readers that try to make you come back. I tell people, you don't have to come back to me. You know, there are readers that want you to come in there every month, every week. They want your money is what they want. There is no reason for a person to come back. You've got to give the universe time to spin for at least 3 months, but I don't even recommend that. I recommend 6 months. And the only way I do 3 months is if somebody's in the middle of a big crisis like a divorce. Divorces are tough. People are having a hard time, you know, going through the divorces, and you know, they need somebody to talk to, and you do become sort of a, what do you call that, advisor, a therapist more or less. And if for something like that, that's okay. They just need somebody to talk to that they can't stand their ex-husband or their ex-wife, and that's all right. But I won't let them come back more than every 3 months. But I'd say for the majority of people, once to twice a year, it's plenty. You don't need to do it any more often than that. Why? It's just taking your money. You should not be paying a fortune for a reading. Again, I'm very against that. There's people that charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars. $50 is about right for a card reading. That's just about the right price. And anybody that's charging you $500, run away from them. We were talking about intuitive energy, Dolores was, and I do have intuitive energy, but I use the cards as well. I can use cards for other things besides just reading. I had a case in Erie, Pennsylvania. There was a baby who had died of, they thought, shaken baby syndrome, and they could not figure out who did it. Well, they called the lady that's on TV, Sylvia. They called her up, and she said it was a man with the initials of MK or something like that, and she charged him $2,500 for that information. Well, I was appalled. And they called me because the one cousin or somebody comes to me, because I live between Erie and Cleveland. And I said, yeah, I said, I'll read the cards on it and see what I can find out. And I wouldn't take money for that. It's ignorant. And I saw the lineup of the cards, and the lineup of the cards said mother, friend, lover, accident, death. Or not death, what the heck did I want to say? Loss of life. Because it's not the death card. Anyway, it turned out that the mother was letting her ex-boyfriend watch the baby. The ex-boyfriend had a girlfriend who had accidentally dropped the baby the day before, didn't say anything, and then it turned out that's who did it. So my cards were right on target. So, and then the other thing I want to talk about real quickly is death and the devil. Very important. I'm not God. I do not know who's going to die, neither does anybody else. And I tell my clients, if you encounter a reader who says you're going to die, get up and walk right out of that room. They are not God. The death card has never meant physical death, never. Death card has always been about a major transformational event in your life. For instance, most people's first death card is graduating from high school. What happens is at that point in your life, you make a choice. Are you going to go on to school? Are you going to get into the workforce? Are you going to move out of your parents' home? Are you going to move in with your boyfriend or girlfriend? Those are big life choices. Marriage is a death card, as is divorce, having children, moving across the country, changing careers. If you win $1 million, those are death cards. because they are so transformational that they will change all 4 areas of your life. Remember, your day-to-day activities, your finances, your personal relationships, and your power. And when they change, the cards change. That is all the death card has ever meant. And the devil is another one. A lot of fundamentalist Christians will say things like, oh, the tarot is evil, the devil's in it. Well, the devil that's in the tarot is not Satan. That's not the same devil. The devil in the tarot is the demons we fight within ourselves. It's what we do to ourselves to prevent our own growth. And for most of us, the card is representative of anxiety and fear. Anxiety and fear stops more people from doing what they want to do, becoming what they want to become, than all physical problems combined. Greed, anger, envy, grief, stress, doubt, obsessive relationships, the needs to abuse drugs and alcohol, those are all devil cards. There is nothing evil in a tarot reading. And what happened back to the Renaissance was that during the Renaissance, the cards made their way into Europe. And the French and Italian painters loved to paint the tarot. Well, they saw the symbolism on the cards, and they called them death and the devil, when in reality it had nothing to do with that. The Egyptians believed in reincarnation, but all society is based on its religion, and that's just the interpretation. So when they say something getting lost in the interpretation, tarot is a perfect example. It's also a perfect example of why look at tarot today in the 21st century, not the way it was looked at in the 20th century or the 19th century or the 12th century, but to look at it in the 21st century where we need anything that we can have, anything we can use to help us get to the next place, get to the next day. Spirituality has made...
What about the hanged man? Tell them about the hanged man. They
Oh.
don't show that on TV.
Okay, I'll do that. Spirituality has made a huge, huge comeback, and tarot is spiritual. It is not evil. The hangman, Dolores is right. A lot of people are afraid of the hanged man because it's representative of St. Peter hanging upside down on the cross is actually the Renaissance interpretation. And what it means, people think it's terrible luck or somebody's going to, die, and it doesn't mean that at all. Actually, what it is a stagnation card. If you look closely at the symbolism of the card, his foot's up in the sun. What it means is it's a person who's preventing himself from going forward. It's much like the devil card. Somebody that's in stagnation, that stays in the same spot. I hate my job. I hate my job. Well, then get out. But they won't. The hangman is there. And you know as a reader if they're ever going to get out or not. Your job, you encourage them. But that doesn't mean that they're going to do what you want them to do, because it's not always the case. I would say that you're successful if you're a good reader 50% of the time, getting people to change the way they think. You have people who come to you who will never change the way they think. They like to be in the situations they're in. My son's girlfriend said to me one time, I think the most selfish people in the world are abused people. And I said, why do you say that? And she said, look at it. They keep sitting there letting people do it to them. Then they keep going for advice, and they keep going to organizations, and people keep, helping them, and they get all this attention. Why don't they just quit? And I thought, what a good question. I never thought of it like that. Why don't they just quit? And as a reader, I tell them, what is that person for? Why do you have that person in your life? They say, but I love him. Well, but I love him has caused many deaths. But I love him has caused many hospitalizations. But I love him has caused a lot of grief in the world. And as a reader, I try to get past that, but I love him or I love her scenario. I shouldn't just make it men, because it's not just men, it's women too. That people choose to live in misery. They choose it. And with a tarot reading, you actually have the power to change that. I have about 15 minutes, and I'm going to answer a couple of questions, and then I want to introduce you. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to introduce you to the girls first. And that way, come on up, girls. And that way, you can meet them all. These are 4 women who I've been training for over a year. They all live near me. Well, Pam lives in Pennsylvania, and the other 3 live in Ohio. And they're excellent, excellent readers. They all have all the experience you need. I am fully booked. They're not fully booked yet, but they're getting there, so you probably should hurry up if you want a reading. This is Pam Laskowski. Pam is wonderful if you need somebody to make you motivated. She has this soothing, motivating kind of a presence about her that you just want to do what she asks you to do. She probably gets all those but I loves them to quit doing that. She's got a lot of spiritual energy. All of these girls are Queens of Cups. This is Ginny Brennan. Ginny is an excellent, excellent medium. She has actually helped solve or found clues to murder cases. She'll sit, and when you read with Ginny, if she gets a dead person that she's talking to and she cries, don't be alarmed. She's very sensitive, and she will actually feel what a person feels. Excellent medium in the card reading, through the card reading. So if you have a question about like your deceased loved one or something, you see Ginny because she'll tell you. Then this is Jamie Childs, JC Jamie. I call her. I've known her since she was a kid. Animals. Anything about animals, you want to know it, go to see her. She's excellent with that. She can tell you, and I know how people love their animals. And she can actually, I've seen pictures of this, sit down and birds come and feed right out of her hand. That's how much animals love her. That's true. And this is Kim Fox. Kim's, her area of expertise is interpersonal relationships. If you want to know how to get in or get out, you talk to Kim. She can help you. Every one of them, you'll feel comfort, you'll feel enlightened. Every one of them will give you good advice. There won't be any guessing games. They know. I trust them totally. They read my cards. I totally trust them. So please, if I know I'm booked up, please feel free to use the girls. And the name of our group, by the way, is The Last Answer. And inside your blue thing, there's a little paper about everybody. And I'll tell you real quickly how we arrived at the name. About 15 years ago, a man came to see me, and I always ask 3 questions when I do readings. I ask, are you married? How many children do you have? And what is your occupation? And the man said that he was a forensic psychiatrist. And I said, well, what brings you to me? And he said, well, after you have acknowledged or sought your answers or sought your knowledge through the physical world and then the psychological world, he says, what's left but the spiritual world? He says, you are the last answer. So tarot is the last answer. Thank you. Now, I have time for a couple of questions. Does anybody have anything? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I actually have 2 questions. One, in this room full of people who are into this and psychics,
There, she found them. See? The meanings change. The meanings, if you look in my book, the meanings are given upright as well as reversed. Now, one of the things that people have to be aware of is just because it means something upright does not mean it means the exact opposite reversed. It can, but a lot of times it doesn't. It means something altogether different. So it means what it means to you. I tell my students, and I tell you this, you cannot be wrong. It is impossible to be wrong while you're interpreting tarot. What it feels like it is, and when it's upside down, it definitely has a different meaning than when it's right side up. Anybody else? Yes?
Do the girls do the full spread the way you do?
The full, complete spread. Everything the way I do it. Oh, is that my microphone lady? Oh, okay. Yeah, they do the exact full spread. It's a 50-card spread that I taught them. It's my method. I made the spread up years ago. I was doing like Celtic cross spread, and it was like you had to do one for every question. So then I thought, why not put down a base reading, and then for each of the 4 areas, love, money, power, work, lay out a different like lay the spread on top of it, and you would have enough, and it works that way. And yes, they do my spread the exact same way. Anybody else? No, we good? Yes. Let Joy use that. She really wants to use that.
I'm curious, which card is Barack Obama?
Barack Obama is a king of swords. He's absolutely a king of swords. He's a man in power. Man in power, he knows what he wants. And kings of swords, one of the things that I think is funny about Barack Obama is because he's such an entertaining kind of a person. And a lot of king of swords love music and they love to dance. And I saw him dancing with his wife. And I thought, how perfect is that? Not only is he in power, but he loves music. He's a king of swords, and he is definitely that. Anybody else? No? We're good? Well, if you want, you can talk to the girls. They're taking appointments back there. I don't know how many they have left, but I'm sure that we can fit quite a few people in. There are 4 of them. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.